All right, welcome to the regular scheduled board meeting of Pocahontas School District. I'm going to open it up for Dr. Arbuckle.
Okay, this evening, much like several meetings that we've had in the past year, we've got the opportunity to recognize some of our state athletes, state competitors. And so this evening, we're going to recognize those athletes who competed at the state level of competition in Special Olympics. So just tonight, we're proud to recognize the exceptional athletes who represented the Pocahontas District at the Special Olympics state competition. In December, athletes attended the state bowling competition, and in May, during Memorial Day weekend, athletes attended the state track and field competition. Reaching this level is a remarkable accomplishment, and that speaks to the determination and courage of these students. The Special Olympics celebrates the abilities and spirit of every athlete, and these individuals have truly embodied those values, competing with heart, resilience, and pride. Their journey reminds us all of the power of inclusion, perseverance, and what it means to be truly exceptional. So this evening, our athletes were accompanied to the Special Olympics by their coach Tabitha Phelps, and so this evening I'm going to invite Courtney up, and we're going to present these folks with a certificate like we do, like we have with our other state level athletes this year. So we'd like to start out with bowling. So our bowlers, we'd like to call up Elizabeth Ricker. If Elizabeth is here. All right. Abilene Caffrey. Abilene, congratulations. We're going to take your picture, so don't run off, okay?
There you go. You can go stand on the banner.
Stand in front of the banner. Paige Lynn.
She's not here.
Not here. Josh Froelich. Freilich, I apologize. Yeah. Josh, congratulations, man. Well done. You'll stand over there. We'll take the picture. And Toby Morris. Toby, congratulations, sir. This is yours. All right, we'll stand right over here. Are you going to, Courtney, you want to come in? All right, y'all get close so we can get the picture in here. Get over here. Ma'am? Okay, next we have our track and field athletes. So Rebecca Francis. Okay, congratulations, sweetie. We're going to take a picture over there. Hayden Bailey. Hayden, congratulations, sir. And Maggie Tyler. Congratulations. All right, let's get a picture here. You want me to stand in the middle? You want to stand in the middle? You stand in the middle. All right. And then we have one who completed twice, so Abilene Caffrey also competed in swimming.
You get 2 certificates.
Abilene, congratulations.
We got another picture.
One more picture. All right. Congratulations, all. Now, we would, of course, invite the families to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but you certainly are free to leave as well. Thank you for coming. Okay, as I look at the request to speak, we didn't have anyone sign up to speak this evening. So we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. You have in your packet the minutes from our regular meeting, June 16th, the special meeting, June 24th, the special meeting for June 30th, and the special meeting for July 7th. Obviously, if there's any questions there, be happy to answer those. If not, then we just need a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the last meetings. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 4-0.
Okay. All right, we have our first presentation of the report. So you have in your packet a presentation on the basically it's called looking at the data, the story our data tells. So we took the spring assessments in April, May, and what you have is just a quick presentation there, and I want to really talk about how this data impacts the decisions that we have made and are making in regards to our curriculum and instruction. And so that first page that you have there, and this is in your packet, it's going to be page 26. So what you have on that first page, on page 26, is you have the performance levels of our kiddos during the spring of 2024. So this is a year ago now in 2024. And the reason I give you that is I want you to just use that as a reference point as we talk about the test scores, grade level test scores from this year. And so you'll notice that one of the things that we saw, for example, last year in the spring of 24 is we had a large majority of our students who were scoring at the level 1 and level 2. And that is not where we want them to score. But I think the key thing that I want you to take away from this is that if you see in this bar graph, when you see the bar graph has a higher number of students in level 1, what that tells us is that we should be looking at our curriculum. Okay, that our curriculum may not be meeting our needs. When you have a larger number, a larger column in level 2, what that should tell us when we're looking at it is we need to focus on the instruction inside the classroom. In other words, is the instruction going on inside the classroom at grade level? So if they're in 3rd grade and we have too many kids, we have more kids in level 2 than anywhere else, then we have to start asking ourselves, are we a rigorous enough classroom? Are we expecting enough out of our kiddos? And so that's really, level 3 is proficient, level 4 is in essence advanced. So really we want all of our kiddos, grand majority of our kiddos in that 3 and 4. But I think, I'm going to take us back. We've done a lot of work in the last couple of years where we have identified needs, for example, in our ELA curriculum. So this time last year, we had just purchased a 712 ELA curriculum, okay? This year, we saw the need, we did the, so this test, what you're about to see is the first iteration of that 712 ELA curriculum. And I think you'll see some of those things in there. This year, we did the work. We asked teachers to work with us on that to identify a math curriculum that we could start using in August, right? And I think you'll see why that was important work to do. So the short version is what I hope you see out of this data is you see that the decisions that we have made. Courtney, do we need to stop and do another one? We don't mind at all. Always willing to honor kiddos for their work. Okay, so board, we have one other recognition that we need to make. We've already kind of looked at, we had bowlers, we had track and field, we had swimming. Well, we have another bowler, Elizabeth Ricker. She competed on the state bowling team for Pocahontas, and we just want to recognize her for that work. So, Elizabeth, congratulations. That's yours. Here, we want to get a picture. Okay, Mom wants a picture. All right, well done. So what I'd like you to take away from this is I'd like for you to look at the places as we go through here of where can you identify we're making decisions that are in line with the data that you see, okay? And so we start looking at the first one there, that's third grade. You'll notice that, again, level 2 is that area that's just slightly taller than level 1, but they're actually really close.
So third grade. This
Third grade
data is not on this graph.
What that is that'll be last year's data. So the third graders there are going to be fourth graders here.
Okay, so this would technically be last year's second grade.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, because they don't test until third grade.
Okay.
So really, you don't have a comparison other than to compare third grade to third grade, but it is different kiddos.
Okay.
Right? But I think what you're seeing there, and this is why this is important. If we look at third grade last year, we had 14 more kiddos. We had almost time and a half more kiddos in level 2 than we did in level 1, and we have something similar, right? And where we still have more kiddos in level 2. So it tells us that we may not be doing grade level work in all of our classrooms. So that's something that we're going to have to look at. But because level 1 is where it is, I think we have identified, for example, this year in May when we brought the third grade teachers, the second grade teachers, first grade teachers, and kindergarten teachers together to identify where are there holes instructionally. We saw that our curriculum may not be meeting our needs, right? And so this year, we've already made the decision that this year we are going to, as a K-6 team, look at K-6 ELA curriculum, right? Because we feel like when you start looking at and laying these columns side by side, because they're in essence pretty co-equal, that's telling us that we may have both a curricular issue and an instructional issue. But the instructional issue is probably coming from the curricular issue, right? And that's on me, that's on us as administrators to provide the best curriculum that we can so that teachers can accomplish what they set out to do. So if you look at fourth grade, again, something very similar where that second level or level 2 is quite a bit higher than level 1. Okay? So you're seeing that pattern repeat itself from last year to this year. Now again, remember, it's the same curriculum. It was the same curriculum. So it makes sense that we would see the same pattern, which is why, or one of the reasons, we need to look this year at replacing that ELA curriculum for K-6. Again, same thing in grade 5, same thing in 6th grade. Okay, so I think that is, again, the trend is across both years. We're seeing the same thing. And so it really tells us that that curriculum is something we need to strongly consider. And I think it reinforces the decisions that we've already been making as a staff. Now, when we start getting into 7th grade, okay, you'll see kind of that shift, right? Now, we think 7th and 8th grade are sort of anomalies this year. We're going to continue. We're going to have new staff members in there, obviously, new teachers, and so we're going to have to spend a lot of effort, and we need to make sure that those teachers are well versed in that curriculum. And so we're really expecting that to turn around as well. Now, when we start looking at 9th and 10th grade, you see that it begins to shift back. This is where we would expect. We would expect to sort of be here because teachers have just started and they've just had 1 year with the curriculum. So when we start talking about 9th and 10th grade, those teachers are, still getting used to that curriculum. They're still working to carry that out with fidelity. And so we'll continue to do that, continue to do the training, continue to do the work with those teachers with the idea that as we are focused on ensuring that all of our classrooms are at grade level, we are shifting those students into that level 3 and level 4. Now, again, something similar in math. I think you're gonna see that same kind of pattern with math. Again, as we are looking at the math data, it makes sense to me that it looks the way it does when you start taking apart the number of level 1s, the number of level 2s, level 3s, and level 4s, because again, we've really worked this year to pull together a K-12 math experience. And, we all know that math is really sort of that anomaly because it so much builds one grade after the other. I know Lori was in here today working with teachers on PD and starting to go through that, and helping teachers get acclimated to the math curriculum and the materials so that we can ensure that we are moving kids out of those bottom levels into those top levels. So again, I think this is important, and the story that I hope you take from this is it does reinforce the decisions that we're making. They are high quality decisions. They're rooted in the things that they need to be rooted in. The truth is we're not going to turn this around overnight, right? I think I said that last year. We brought in a new ELA curriculum after that first year. We're bringing in a new math curriculum this year. Next year we're going to be looking at a K-6 elementary curriculum. So my goal is that at the end of, in essence, year 3, we will have a K-12, or really a pre-K 12 coherent experience, or working towards that, for English and math in all of our grade levels. Right? And then we're going to have to tackle, especially at the elementary school, we're going to have to tackle science. Right? I mean, this is going to be work that is going to continue over the next 2, 3, 4 years beyond this year as well. Because we just have to make sure that teachers have the materials, the high quality instructional materials they need to be able to do grade level rigorous work with kids. Questions about any of those performance levels or any of that information there? Okay. All right, if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and keep moving. Wanted to bring your attention or do a quick recap on our summer lunch program. This year we worked hard, Victoria, Craig getting busing stops laid out. We had 3 or 4 places around the city where we took meals to kiddos, and so you can see there in your packet. Week 1, the district served 212 meal bags. And when we talk about 212 meal bags, what you have to remember is each meal bag had 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches in it, right? So that's what we're talking about. So 212 kiddos with meal bags in week 1, 289 kiddos in week 2 with meal bags. So this is the month of June is what we're talking about here. Week 3, we served 305 meal bags. So we're really pleased that number continued to ramp up every week, that we were able to reach more kiddos each week. So we served a total number of 4,030 breakfasts and 4,030 lunches to our kiddos in Pocahontas. And so I'm really proud of Victoria and her team.
What's the criteria? I mean, do they just have to sign up?
You have to be 18 years or younger.
Okay. Did you just request these?
Nope, we just packed them and
How do they get on the list, though? I think is what he's saying. Like, how do you get to be one of the 305?
you show up. You show up to the spot. Like we advertised that. We had a flyer that we sent out, put on Facebook, made it out there, and then if they showed up and they were 18 years, they were school age, and what they did is they either filled out the form by hand or there was a QR code, because we do have to report those students to the state.
But we know they're Pocahontas School.
Yes.
That's good.
As a part of that, Victoria and her team have to compare those names. We'd like to, so we already have some thoughts about next year and how maybe we can make that a little flow a little bit more easily. Perhaps getting Wi-Fi spots on a bus and then having a Chromebook so that we don't have to depend on families' phones and things like that. And so,
2 years ago, we voted for Wi-Fi on buses.
Yeah.
That never go through.
it hasn't since I've been here.
We paid for that, didn't we?
Well, okay, was it the Wi-Fi or was it the cameras?
Cameras.
Because the cameras, the way the cameras work is they hit the Wi-Fi when the camera itself hits the school Wi-Fi when they come back to the bus barn.
Yeah.
I seem to think it was like, get Wi-Fi on, but I didn't. Maybe I misunderstood. It's been too long.
Okay, anything else about the summer lunch program? The other program that we had running this summer in June was our Camp Redskin. This is part of that 21st Century Learning Grant that we had last year that allowed us to do the after-school care. And so you have some notes in your packet. We served 85 students with that 21st Century Learning Grant. Each day, those 85 kiddos were focused around character education. They were daily traits that they taught the kids. There was also an academic focus with literacy and math, STEM education, which included the coding, science, Project Wild, so sort of a biology focus, and then the solar oven construction. Of course, s'mores cooking, everybody loves s'mores, right? So that was a big hit. I know we also had, were able to work with the city, the Pocahontas Fire Department, to provide basically a water experience day. That was a big hit. We also had snow cones that were provided by 870 Snow, and some other local folks were there as well. Really tried to do some heavy community engagement in that process. The short version is, you know, we were able to provide a 2-week experience to 85 of our youngest learners. Again, keeps them engaged. Those were also kiddos who had access to the breakfast and lunch program on site. So that's important as well. Get those kids meals, and so that's a really good experience for our kiddos. I am pleased to make sure that the board is aware that on Friday, the feds, you know, we had talked about our federal funding being held on to, being reviewed. On Friday, the state let us know that the feds have released our 21st Century Learning Fund. So we will have the funds that we need to run our program next year. We have to tone it down a little bit on kind of some of the services that we're able to provide, but we are getting, this year we got $200,000. Next year our grant will be for $150,000 to provide that after-school care for our kiddos. And so we think that's exciting. We think that's a good thing. And you know, we're gonna keep doing that on behalf of kids. Questions about the Camp Redskin piece? Okay, I just wanted to make the board aware that we also, each year, we sign an MOU with the BRTC to participate in a partnership with their career tech program. And so I did sign that and send that in. So our kiddos will have access. I know this, you probably know this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this for an audience that might be watching. Advanced manufacturing, that's electronics and machine tool, automotive collision repair technology, automotive service technology, medical skills and services, and welding. So those are programs that our kiddos have the ability to go out and do. You might remember that we actually provide transportation to our kiddos who would like to do those things and don't have transportation out there. And so that's even if it provides access to one more kid, that's one more kiddo, and I think it's well worth the investment to make that happen.
Yeah, my sophomore daughter is doing CNA program this year. So I guess that's part of that medical skills, right?
Yeah. Okay, the last item on our presentation of reports is, it could be an informational item, but I just want to put it in there. There were some questions that maybe board members had, or maybe our public at large around the election timeline. And so I wanted to highlight just the election dates. And so in your packet, you've got it in your email. I did remove it in the printed version because it was 37 pages long, and I didn't think we needed to print 37 pages. It just wanted to note that the first day for nonpartisan, it talks about prosecutor judicial candidates is September 11th. I believe that is also the way I understand it, the early filing period for board elections.
Even though like.
That's not true. That's not true. I'm sorry.
To March?
That's not true. I apologize. I'm reading, right.
November is what she told me today.
Yeah, I think you're right. Nonpartisan filing period ends, early voting. Preferential nonpartisan general election in March 3rd. So, I mean, the way I'm reading this, it's it's in September for the March one, but,
She told me
Oh,
today
no.
November, but
November 3rd, you're right. Nonpartisan filing period begins at 3 p.m. on November 3rd, and the filing period ends at 3 p.m. on November 11th. So that is accurate. So just something to keep in mind there. Questions about that? I'm glad you're here, keeping me straight. Okay, our first information, well, really our only informational item is I wanted to just give the board an opportunity to briefly kind of discuss the millage campaign. I know I've had a couple of conversations with a couple of you. I want to make sure that, is the board all on the same page as far as how we want to move forward? The reason I ask is because the way this works is once the board comes to a kind of an understanding, prior to voting, then what I have to do is I have to get that information to Mr. McBride at Stevens. At that point, he has to work with a firm that they work with, a legal firm, to develop all the paperwork that goes with it. So they need a week or so to get that done. So really, I would like to give them about a 2-week lead time so that everybody's on the same page. So once the board comes to a sort of an agreement, I'm going to call it a gentleman's agreement on this is what we want to look at, this is what we think we want to consider, then I need to give that information to Michael before we can move forward any further.
Does that August 4th meeting give you enough time to do that?
Yes, yes, we could, if we, well, so here's what I would prefer, and this is, but we can push it out. If the board is under the kind of a similar thought process, I know we've been talking about 2.98. I think in one of my emails I sent to you, I think we could, I like 2.95 better at this point. I've had some individual conversations with folks. I did ask, or I was asked if we could do it, felt like the district could do what we wanted to, asking for less. And so that was in some of that thought process, asking for less on the millage, not necessarily asking for less on the generation amount, right? So I still feel like we're going to need around 15.5 million.
Well, that's a question. What will 2.95 generate?
So, it's all gonna generate 15.5. So I actually
Yeah,
asked.
but how do you break it out? You're talking about refinancing the bonds.
Yes.
Also,
probably about 10 and 5, right?
yeah, break that out.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to ask on. I can tell you that. So I did ask Michael to update the coverage on that. So, for example, what it's going to do is whatever we do, like we do a 2.95, then in essence you're still looking at the 15.5 million. But what it's going to do is it's going to drop that surplus, that excess debt surplus, to about $695,000 instead of $760, which is about what we've been running. Now, I did ask him based on, so I in some of the conversations I had, I was asked when I kind of highlighted that we were looking at in that 2.98, 2.95 world. The question I've gotten a couple of times is, could you do it for $1 million less, right? So 1.95.
We already are doing it less than they asked
We're doing it for about a $500,000 less than we did it last time.
Yeah.
So I did ask Michael to go ahead and run, what would it look like if we, to generate 15.5 million, because I think that's the bottom.
Is that the target that we're shooting for? What really concerns me, we go into it and we don't have enough money. A school district nearby, did this very thing. They went into their project. They had to go back and ask for 2 more meals. That I don't want to do.
No, I don't either.
And I'll bring this up because I did have a conversation with Dr. Arbuckle prior to the meeting, because my concern is the timeline. Because we have to make this decision by August 20th. This is just my perspective. I feel like we're falling back in the same rut we fell in the last 2 times, where pushing it on the public and we don't even have all the information, and then now we're going to come back and maybe we got lucky and it fell in our laps, or we're going to eat a lot of crow again. And with the issue of the mistrust with the community that we've had from their perspective with the way things were handled in the past, I mean, it's just my perspective. I think it makes more sense to push this to the March ballot, but that's just my opinion.
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
You can.
You can.
I think you got 3 school board
The
members.
millage and the school board ballot has nothing to do with each other, because whoever is up for re-election, no one can run and say, I'm going to change that because it's already on the ballot.
I thought those were only for November.
No, so it's November this year, but the legislature changed the rules, in mid-year, and so because we have typically in this district done our millage election in November, we have to do a millage election in November this year. Now, it could be the same millage, right? But we do have to, and then once January 1st gets here, we're required to do that millage election in March.
And like I said, that's just my opinion, that's my perspective. I just feel like you're going to have to ask for a millage on August 20th, and we have no plans for the school. We don't even know what it's going to look like, other than mock-ups and suggestions.
I agree, but
We have no idea how much it's going to cost.
But now,
other than estimations.
The driving factor is this: we have to start construction by a certain date. And that's the reason this date falls where it's at, to get the partnership money.
18
To get the
months.
$7.8 million, the state's holding us to a date, a start date.
Correct.
Isn't that what's the
Yes.
driving force behind this?
Yes.
And there, we
Because I
did,
totally agree with you. I wish we could.
well, he did read it today. There is a little bit of, I don't know, I think I guess it comes some murky waters there on what they consider construction begin.
Well, so the way I was reading it, and it says you have to begin construction within 18 months. So,
Of what date?
of July 1st.
Okay.
It's November.
So we got till the end of next year.
End of next year.
Correct. So, in essence, what you have to do, and I like when I read that, I meant I read it as like starting construction. I've been told that just means an agreement to begin like an agreement with.
If I remember right, it's really,
But there is a 4-year,
contract.
you have to be having a certificate of occupancy within 4 years of.
Oh, you're cutting it close if you're taking 2 years off the top of it. I mean, because if we wait till March, you're taking 2 years off the top of it. I mean, it's to wait 18 months till March.
I'm like Chris on a little
There's
bit,
good March.
and of course, been through this before. There's a big, long, drawn out time period when all this stuff is submitted to the state. I mean, like it stayed at the fire marshal's office last year for 7 months. And we never heard a word for 7 months, whether it was approved or not. Then it went to other approvals. Now that might have just been a fluke thing. But there's a long process. But I'm like Chris, I think what he said, I agree with. We need to do something. We need to show the public what we're building. We need this much money, and I'm not sure we know that yet. And it concerns me. Not that it can't be done. But we're going to build a gym and along with an addition to the high school, you know, are we gonna, how much money is that gonna cost? You know, we don't wanna go in there and not have the money to build it. That's my big fear. I don't know. That's just the.
Right, like I said, I'm just one of five. That's just I mean, you're asking for money, and they don't even get to see what you're asking money for, because we don't have it yet.
I think they would by the time, I mean, that's.
They could have a
would
mock-up
by the
pretty
time it was
quick,
The election time.
Well,
Yeah, but
Chris,
you
to answer
already
your
set the number in
question,
stone. You can't change it. Once you put the number on August 20th, that's it. There's no changing it.
But I think the last time when the plans got presented, it was this big, huge, elaborate plan, and it's here, we want all this money for this big, huge, elaborate plan. I think if we go about it this way and say, we're doing it as low as we can, as small as we can, and we're gonna work with what you're gonna give us. And then we're gonna go.
And I think that's
Pencil
the,
paper.
to me, that is a key.
Once you get, and Chris, to kind of weigh that, to answer your question, which is a concern of mine, you know, we're gonna have the plans, we have public meetings, they'll be available for anybody all the time, then we can start talking about this, what it's gonna look like. Of course, now, when the bids come in, it could look slightly different, you know, we realize, but it probably won't be nothing anybody would notice. But you go to the public, say, this is square footage, this is how many classrooms we got, and, you know, the detail of the classrooms may, you know, we may have to tweak some of those as we get closer to the actual date of, you know, of the bids. But, there will be a lot of information. Navajos does a great job of putting all that stuff together for us. And they'll print brochures and all this other thing for the public. And there'll be a lot of information, but I agree, there's a short timeline. But we'll have, I'd say we'd have September, October, we'd have 2 months to have public meetings. You
But
know.
nothing final has to be, I mean, that's what, like, I think it's just a mock-up.
Just a mock-up, yeah. You're just gonna have a
This is what we're looking at, this is the amount of money we have to spend, and we're gonna do everything we can to stay in this amount of money. Instead of where it was the last time, it was, we want a $30 million school, and we need more money to do. I feel like we're doing the opposite this time. We're respecting you as taxpayers and not asking for excessive amounts, and we're gonna see what we can do with that amount.
Well, let me say, while we're on it, just see what you're up against. The last election 9 months ago, 61% voted against the millage and 39% voted for it. Now, you might say, well, there's going to be more people come to this election because it's a special election, but you would have to sway 450 people not to show up that voted against it in the past, and you would have to talk 450 people more into showing up for it. You understand? So
Yeah.
900 people have to vote differently or not show up.
Well,
I also know
that's the first time, it only was 38 votes difference.
It was 45% to 55%, the both
But
elections before.
there
This
were
one is
some
even worse.
issues, we all know that there were some issues in the last election that we won't have.
I think you have more of a chance of getting it passed in November versus March because
But I
there's
think
a
the
lot
main
more.
thing is, everybody kept saying, tell us more, we really need to have public meetings. And we had some good attendance at the ones last year, but.
I think you're gonna have very little attendance at a March election because it's the first year for it.
Well,
We're not gonna be looking.
I think it's a trade-off. I agree. It's probably a better idea to do it in November, but you're giving up time to do that. So it's kind of, you gotta decide what's more important. Having the time to prepare properly or rolling the dice and saying election in November makes more sense than March. Because you can't have both.
Well, we can't go down. I mean, we can't go down on a millage increase because we know we're not gonna have enough money if we go down. But would anybody agree to going up? Even if we gave ourselves a few more months, would we even come to the conclusion of going up?
I think that's where, this is the conversation I have, and you guys might not agree, that's when the community involvement says, because that's when you say, here's what we can do, what all do y'all want? We have to do this. This is the base right here. This is the base model school that we have to do. And we can add anything you want to do, because the complaints I get all the time is, Mater's doing stuff at their school, Sloan Henderson's got a brand new nice school. Are they going to be content with just a new high school? Because that's all they're going to get in the current model, and probably a gymnasium, but that's it. They're not getting anything else. Nothing else about the school is going to be different or new. Is that going to be enough for the public to say, okay, now we're heading in the right direction? Maybe, maybe not. But I want to have these public forums and get their input, because then if they say, yes, what you have mocked up, the gym and the new high school we're content with, okay, well, here's how much money we're going to have to do that. But again, that's just my 2 cents for what it's worth.
These software programs, it would take 3 days for somebody to draw up a decent high school, and you may not have cost on it, but we kind of know ballpark square footage prices. So I mean, it ain't going to be like, you know, but really you need 2 months before the election to spread the word. And so, you know, looking backwards from November 3rd, you're October 3rd, September 3rd. So from September 3rd, you got to have a mock-up on September 3rd. So from the August 1st meeting, whenever it is, you need to have a month from there to come up. Now, they're probably already working on a mock-up, so, you know, you've really got from now to then.
Yeah,
So,
you just said it.
I don't think it's a bad thing to add some more time to it. I'm just concerned about, I know how when elections work, and then when you have runoff elections 2 weeks later, the people showing up to those is nothing.
And I'm not saying my plan's right. I'm just saying that's the 2 choices you have in front of you.
But in
Push the envelope, and November's probably the better time to get it on the ballot, but we don't have very much time. Or grant yourself more time, and then maybe it's not the best time for it to be on the ballot in March.
But it has to be on the ballot in March.
I just wanted to give you guys something to think about, because that's what I've been pondering.
Well, and I will bring you back to, you know, something that Michael said when he was here is, even a March election feels like, in his experience, what I heard him say is even a March election feels like there's not enough time, because when you're in, like, you've got you got Thanksgiving, then you got Christmas, then you got New Year's, people are tired after New Year's, then you get back into it, and you're still, you know, you're still 8 weeks out.
And my concern too is the people that do come out in November, well, there wouldn't be anybody in November if we didn't have one. It'd just be a one
One
vote,
person, right.
Okay. Then that's,
I do wonder about
just
the,
don't want to confuse people on why we passed a millage in November and then turn around and ask for another millage in March
That-
that don't understand how that millage election
I-
works.
But I also
I think
think
that's
that's part of the communication and the education process when we get out and talk to these people, saying, just so you know, there will be a millage come up in November if we chose to do March.
I think they educate on that every election and people still don't get it.
Well, I think one of the big, I do agree with exactly what Chris is saying. I think one of the big advantages, when school starts, people are zoned in on their kids. They're zoned in on the school. Their focus is on the school. So maybe we could have some public meetings and get people involved to really understand what we're putting out there. I think that's an advantage. And 2 months, 2 months is long enough, provided, as LaChette says, provided we can get, this is what we can build with, you know.
I'm thinking like, if it falls through in November, we can still probably get construction started by summer if we do another bond. I mean, that's my backup plan, you know, in my mind.
Can you ask again in March?
No, well, what I'm
If it
saying
falls through in
is,
November? I mean, if you
I would do a
educate
complete
more
separate
and ask in
bond.
March.
My idea would be to do a complete separate bond to raise money instead of asking the public to extend the existing bond.
well, this, just to be clear, this is a combination of both.
I know.
Okay.
But if this falls through, they're both falling through together. One of them's not going through. The bond isn't
Are they
continuing.
separate votes?
No, it's one vote.
Can we separate?
No, you can't separate them. And so, that's what's gonna confuse people.
Legally.
So if one falls through, they're both gonna fall through. So that means that we have to wait till the following November, and that's really too late, because we gotta have construction started by December.
So, but could we ask for the bond again in March, just by
Yes.
itself?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm
So you
saying.
could do it again in March, and that would be fine. I think it would go through. It's basically just saying, hey, we need to borrow the same amount of money we've been paying
Right.
on. But my thinking is you could always do another bond for 10 to 12 million or whatever, and that would be, we wouldn't have to go to the voters for that. Basically, it's like the school borrowing more money, and then the loan that they have is getting paid off in 2026, and that money would then go to the new loan that we're getting, the new bond.
We'd be getting 2 new bonds.
No, you'd just be getting one.
You'd be renewing one
You
and
would be
getting a whole
you
new.
would getting a whole nother one, and then the renewal would expire, and that payment would go towards the new one. So really, you're not going to have more than one payment at a time. But that is my backup plan in my mind.
I
But
don't know, I'm like Chris, that is a short time, but I almost think we have to do it. And I think we can in 2 months. I mean, we can have public meeting because the information is going to be there. It's just
No, I get it. My point was that the short timeline has more to do with asking for the amount and not really knowing with certainty if that's going to be enough.
Yeah,
Because you've got to decide
we're
that.
not going to know till we.
We've got to decide that by August 4th. And that's the window I was looking at more than the information requirement.
See, in the past, I mean, we've only done this one time we've only asked for 1 millage increase in 30 years I've been on the board. And well, there was 2 on the state mandated. But what it is, we already had all, paperwork. We knew what it was going to cost. And that's exactly what we asked for. That's why we didn't ask for the high school, because we had no clue what it was going to cost. But we knew what it was going to cost. Now, we're doing this a little different than we have. What we're saying is we've got X number of dollars. Can the architect, can the construction company build this for this? That's what we're saying.
I think what you're wanting to know is 2.95 a good number, right? Is that what you're wanting to get today?
I
Do we
mean,
want to do it in November?
I don't think you should ask for
That brings up a
more.
good point. I don't know.
I mean, that's-
Choice to do it in November, because if it fails, you're going to have that bond issue in March.
You need a second chance.
In order
for
for
it.
you to
You're gonna
construct
have
and
that
start
chance.
by
If not, because, things are that, if you do it, you don't get it, you said November, that's a misfit. It's not until the following March, because once it starts in March, that's the only
Schools
thing
go to March.
school can be on is in March.
sure, yeah.
And you missed your window, because construction would have to start by November of 26, and you couldn't talk about it again until March.
What's your recommendation, Dr. Arnold? 2.95?
2.95, it would be the top of where I think I think that's going to be passable myself, just in the conversations that I've had. I think the second question becomes, right, we're operating off of that $15.5 million project fund because that keeps that surplus at around $700,000, right? Now, if that's good, then we're looking at 15.5. If what you want to do, what I've heard is there is a little bit of a concern that may not be enough. What happens if we get into it? Now, we won't know for sure. I mean, we won't know what those dollar amounts for building are going to be any closer than we know today until, as Nathan has indicated, Corning is bidding. Once that comes in, we'll have a little bit better idea of what that looks
You really
like.
don't know till it goes to bidder.
But
and
you're
that's
still
probably-
even 18 months out. from
You
starting, so
are,
it can
and
change
that's
then.
going to be the challenge is you're 18 months out from trying to, in essence, what you're doing is you are looking forward and saying, what are materials cost, what's labor cost going to be in 18 months from now? And even if you did the election in March, you're looking forward 18 months and saying, what are labor and to me, you know better than I do, but to me, I think that's hard to do.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said again, and I'm very conservative. I think we need to propose building a new high school addition, just like we talked about, and a gymnasium, with the option, if we don't have enough money, to build a high school, and if there's any funds that we can earmark towards, within our building fund, towards building a new gymnasium when money becomes available.
And in listening to Todd, 15.5 million he believes will get that done. We think, if the building cost is $350 a square foot, just in average, right? Then theoretically, $35 million builds the gym and the academic wing.
But will it cover demolition, architect fees, CM fees, technology fees, and furnishings? There's about 4 to 5 million.
Yeah.
That's what really scares me, because construction costs, when they give you that, is just what it costs to build that building.
Well,
Not-
Corning's a pretty small school, and they're budgeting between 30 and 32 million, and they're building a far bigger school than we're building. So I'm confident that whatever they've got
What
figured
did
out,
What did you say their square footage had come in?
110,000 square feet. And they're
What-
110,000 square foot, and they're banking on between 30. They said they originally came back with 35. The original architect said 35 would take, and they said, no, we're only gonna do about 32 million. And so they're shooting for about 32 million. And they're building an admin building, a high school, and a middle school all together. I mean, it's gonna be, but it's gonna service 500 students, which is about the size of our high school, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they're banking on between 30 and 32
But
million.
they're not
and that's,
building a gym. So the gym will
no, I
add to
think,
it.
I think the gym was included in that, but.
They played on the road all fall this
Yeah.
past year.
So, you know, I feel like that, Corning would not be doing this if they couldn't afford to pay for the tear down, you know, pay for all the extra stuff, the
Yeah, it's gotta be
furniture.
in there.
You know, Corning doesn't, and they voted for a millage and it went through. So that's how they're funding it. So they don't have any extra funds for the furniture, so, you know, I assume that is including in all the extra stuff in the high school.
I've, you know, looked at numbers and I've looked at some of the other numbers, you know. It's hard to say how much construction costs, but I really believe that we can build a quality high school and, or addition to the high school and a gymnasium for $35 million. I really think we can. Now, we may have to make some cuts here and there, but that's okay. Our kids deserve a modern building to go to school in and to take PE in and play basketball in. I think for 35 million, we may have to make some cuts, here and there. But you'd be surprised when you go down the line item, you know, we sat down in about 3 hours and cut over $1 million off of this building out here, simply by changing out the type of glass that was in there, changing out, block instead of brick. There are a lot of things you can do, and Todd's aware of that. I think if we move forward to 2.5 and we explained it to the public, and we got a 2-month window, I think we can do it. It is a little tight. I do agree with Chris. It's a little tight. I almost think we have to.
I just think we need that second opportunity for the bond,
Yeah.
just in case. Because we have to have a bond, and we have to have a second bond. I mean, we're gonna have to have it. But we gotta have a vote. We can't wait till the next March, or we lose it again.
Well, I think if that would put us with what the building fund and what we've got at 35 million, I really think it's doable. With some tightening our belt a little bit on the building process a little bit. That's just my opinion. I'm ready to move forward to it. Ready to- Do you need a motion?
No, this is just, I'm listening to the conversation, yeah, that I
We
can
don't
then.
make a decision in August.
I mean, if I can get, that would be the goal. If I can get Michael the information he needs, and if we feel like that what I'm hearing is correct, that we're comfortable at 2.95 and we're comfortable at 15 and a half, raising the amount to be figure, the amount we're trying to raise is 15.5 million, then that is the information that he needs.
And I think then if I see what Todd comes up, the architect comes up with, and so we can look at that square footage that's in there, and we know there's things that cannot, be changed.
It seems like everybody's comfortable with the 295.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be on the record to say that I am not.
You're not?
I don't think it's enough to do.
Oh, I don't think it's enough.
Not just the
I don't
building,
think-
but the building and all the other things that need to be done. I don't think it's enough. I mean, I'm only one of 5, so it doesn't really matter if the other 4 say.
No,
But do you think
but-
there's a chance that it would pass it more?
I agree with
I
you.
mean, that's the question. I don't know.
I wish
don't
we
know.
had more to work with.
I don't know that it would pass, but that's where, again, the timeline matters, because I don't think the people in this community realize how far behind we are with everyone in the state financially. I mean, the state average is 39.17, and we're at 32.81.
And we're still not getting close.
And we're still the second lowest district in this area. There's only one school lower than us, village. Like, I don't think people understand that. And when they understand the dollar amount, like how much the actual meal is worth, because, you know, they want to compare us to other school districts, but it doesn't matter how many more meals they got or don't have, it's how much is their meal worth on top of that. Like, educating them so they understand
You hit the nail right on the head.
those types of things.
People don't understand, you know, you going off the wealth index or whatever for different schools. $1 is worth more, I mean, a meal's worth a lot more in Springdale or Jonesboro than it is here.
For sure.
But you will never get really.
No, I get it, man, and that's what I'm saying. I understand the trade-off, and that's just kind of where we're at, and we've got to make the best decision based on the information we have.
Well,
So what do we do if it doesn't, I mean, if we wait till March and it fails, it's failing with the bond, then the whole project's over?
well, you could lose partnership funding.
Oh, I mean, it's over, we're out of time.
Well, you're gonna have to just get another bond.
But you can't without a vote.
No, you can't. You can get another bond, you can't renew the same
You can't
bond.
renew the bond.
So you can get it completely, because we did, we basically had 4.5
Which is
million.
what Chad's saying, is you'd have to do that anyway, because the other bond would have to be bigger than the current one you're renewing.
So it's gonna expire.
But you cannot enter into more debt without a vote of the public.
You can't, all you can do is what you've got.
Well, how were they able to borrow $4.5 million 2 years ago, 3 years ago, without a vote?
There was a millage election in 2018.
They didn't, they borrowed $4.5 million, and we gave it back.
Oh, that's called a second lien bond.
Yeah, you can do.
So basically what you
That's what I'm
do is,
talking about.
But it
okay,
can't be bigger.
in essence, basically what you can do is you can take a second mortgage on your existing debt that you have. You do not have to go to the voters to do that, but that is a much smaller amount that you have access to.
But that's right, but we'd really want to look long and hard before we put the district that far in debt, you know.
Well, Gary, it's replaced, the one in 2026 is expiring, right? So as long as our payment doesn't go higher than that right there, we can do a second lien bond and replace it.
Combine them together.
No, we can't without a vote. We can take, I think, what's his name? Michael said we could probably go to about $11 million, and our payment would not go up. So by the time we're ready to use that second lien bonds, we would have access to $11 million, and then our 2026 would pay off, and that payment would go towards that second lien bond, the same amount of payment. So it's not, the school is not coming up with more funds to make a payment. You see what I
That'd
mean?
be interesting to
So, you know,
see how all that would work.
Can you get that much on the second lien bond, 11 million? Is that-
I mean, that would be a question I'd have to ask Michael, and I have not asked him to entertain a second lien bond at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to have that information before August 4th for sure.
Okay.
now, while we're here, I mean, is this your budget surplus for the year?
No, so, okay,
Or did you want to talk about it later?
well, I thought we'd talk about it with the monthly financials. So so what I think I'm hearing is, right now, we seem to be in agreement that 2.95 is the place to be. It sounds like we're in agreement on the 15.5 million. That would allow us to retain the excess debt service that we currently have or close to it. And then and I can provide you with information on second lien bonds via my weekly email to give you. And then I would be happy over the next 2 weeks to meet with each of you individually to address any other questions that you have or concerns as we're going into that. Because I want everybody on the board to feel comfortable with the decisions that they're making. Make sense?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. So what you have, first action item is the monthly financials. So you have the financial information in there from the last month for period 12. We're currently working through period 13 at this point. And so what I wanted to do as we're looking at this information is I kind of wanted to stop and take a look at the board report. So I have given you, in light of what Chad brought to the last meeting, I wanted to give you more information, but in a form that you have already seen. You see this every month. And so I'm looking at this handout that I gave you that says 2025 at the top. This is this year's information. Now, I've done it for last year, but last year is sort of an anomaly, remember, because with the board's approval, I sort of reset the table, and that's when we moved that $4 million to reset the local and the state accounts, the 2000 and the 2001. And so I'm going to come back to something that Chad had mentioned in a couple of different spots, and one of the things that you had mentioned is you felt like, or you had mentioned the board was, or the district was making money. So there is one place that the district makes money, one place, and that is in our interest earned on our accounts. Okay, so I have, and I'll be glad to give you these to look at. I only have one copy because I didn't think everybody was going to want to look at it. But I have, for the last 5 years, the amount of interest generated by our funds. Okay? Now, primarily, it's interest on that $17 million that's in the building fund. Okay? So in 2025, well, let me back up. If you go back to 2021, in 2021, the district earned $73,000 in interest.
730.
No, 21.
Oh, 21, okay.
73,248. Okay? And so if you look at this color-coded document that I gave you, okay, and you've seen this document before, all I did was add the final column, the budgeted transfer plus the surplus plus the interest. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the transferred column with the budget transfer surplus plus interest column. So those last two of those last three columns there. Okay? So in essence, if we go to 2021, we transferred $2.2 million. We budgeted plus the surplus plus the interest, that's $73,000. That's the one place we made money. That was 1.2 million. So 1.2 million of that 2.2 million that we transferred. So there's $1 million in there that in essence we didn't spend out of our 2000 account. Okay? Now, the reason that's important and the reason I gave you this blue colored document is because Chad, when you gave us that information, what you're doing is you are looking at, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but you're looking at that grand total, that 23 million or 21 million that we started with, 23 million that we end with, and we're doing a subtraction. Now, that's a challenge because there's a lot of that $23 million that we can't do anything with other than what we're doing with it. Okay? So when you look at our financials every month, okay, you're looking at Fund 1. Fund 1 is our teacher salary fund. Okay? That is just a pass-through fund. That's just a pass-through account. We move money out of Fund 2 into Fund 1 and pay teachers their salary. So that zeroes out every month. Okay? Fund 2 is what we have control over. Fund 2 is what we operate the school district from. Okay? So if you look, I'm going to go back to the board report that you're looking at right now. Okay? If you look at that board report, in Fund 2, we have, at the end of period 12, for 2025, we have $4.9 million in there. Okay? Now, I want you to keep in mind a couple of things. Our payroll, to make payroll for us, is about $625,000 a month. That's what our payroll is. Okay? The last time the state sends us any money is in June. Okay? So we have to make payroll for 2 months without the state sending us any more money. So in essence, I have to hold back just to make sure that we don't go in the hole. I have to make sure that at the end of June, we have at least $1.3 million. Okay, because we don't get any more money until September from the state. And I don't want to not be able to make payroll, right? So that is a key. Yes, sir. That is a key. So when you're looking at the paper document that I gave you, okay, in essence, what you're looking at there is you're looking at the difference between that, there's 1.89 in essence million dollars in Fund 2 as of right now, different between the beginning of the year balance and the end of the year balance. And that $1.8 million is basically generated from the 2000 operating account and the 2001 other operating account. Okay? Now, of that 2001, of that $984,000 that's sitting in that 2001 account,
$700,000 is interest.
it's $927,404 in interest. Okay? Now here's the key on that. In 2021, the interest we made was $73,000. In 2025, the interest we're pulling down is $927,000. That's great. We've had a great run for the last 4 or 5 years. How long are interest rates going to stay where they're at?
Well, when we delete most of that building fund, if we're building a new building, then
It's going to cut that number, even if the interest rates stay where they're at, it's going to cut that number by 2/3.
Yeah.
So we're going to drop that number as soon as the new high school's built from $927,000 to basically $300 and some thousand of interest. And so, to me, the best guidance I can provide to the board is to say, we need to ensure that we've got a budgeted amount that's set to go into the building fund, which is what we've done every year, about $500,000 to $600,000. Okay, and then in essence, we've been moving the most of the surplus. There's 1 year in there, if you look, 2023. Where we moved less than, in essence, the budget transfer, the surplus, and the interest. So what that tells me is, in 2023, we spent some of that budget surplus on operating. Not a bad thing, it's just something that we need to be aware of. Okay? Because we don't, in essence, I think it's dangerous to spend or to allot for spending everything that we have.
oh, yeah.
Okay? And so, when you remove out of that 2000 account, if we're going back to this piece of paper that we're looking at, out of that 2000 account, when you remove the 2 months of salaries, okay, you have quite a bit less in there that is discretionary. So I do think it's correct. The district is right now making close to $1 million a year due to interest rates and high
Well, what's this
building
2.3
fund.
million right here from 224? And you got surplus plus interest.
Okay, so we budgeted, if you go across there, we budgeted 600,000. The budget plus the surplus, because the surplus was 799,943, plus the interest, which last year the interest was $908,000, 908,262. So you add those up and you get 2.3 million. Now we actually transferred 4.7 million,
So
right?
realistically, if you take away the 908, the school is, on top of interest, is bringing in $1.3 million, or $1.4 million. Has a budget surplus of 1.4 million.
No, the budget surplus is 799,943. Now,
But you transferred 600,000 into your building fund.
correct, and that was out of operating.
But that's moving into your savings account. That means that we saved it. So you gotta add that to that.
And that's where you get this 1.4 million right here.
Yeah, so that 1.4 million is the true budget surplus without interest.
No. The true budget surplus, so in essence, I was sort of always raised, or at least mom and dad tried to say, look, when you get your paycheck, you want to save 25% of it, okay? When you budget $600,000 to transfer, that's your 25%. That is when we get money from the state, we are earmarking 600,000 and saying, we're going to move that into our savings account, which means we're not going to spend that to live off of. So that plus the debt surplus, which is the 799,000, gives you the 1.4 million. Okay, so it is true that 1.4 million
Which
is
means
a
our savings
combination of
account.
what we've saved and what the community has given us.
Yeah. So basically, we're saving 1.4 million, 1.399 million, and if we add the interest to it, we're saving 2.3 million. Boils down to it. Yes, I know you're budgeting
Right.
600,000, but I can, that number could be zero, and then at the end of the year, we take that money and whatever's left, we put in there. So that.
Well, yes and no, because the way it works is at the end of the year, the state requires us to put it in a different account, not the one we actually put it in.
But the money you're putting it into, the fund you're putting it into, is growing our savings account. So
Correct.
Technically, it's a savings. So you could say it was budgeted, but it is growing our account. It's contributing to our building fund. So from the numbers, that's pretty close to what I had figured. I think I had 2.5 million, and that was a 2.3 million. But yes, you're right. Interest is 908,000 of it, which
But
will
I
go away.
I guess where what I'm trying to communicate is, of that 202 million, whatever you want, 2.3 million, right? Basically, $1 million is money we're earning, and the other 1.3 million is money that is provided to us by both the state and our local community.
Correct, yes, that's exactly right. If we spend the 17 million in our bank account, we will not get that million every year.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if that helps answer your question.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had figured. I had 2.5, so, I'm $100,000 off, or $200,000 off.
But I think it's important to know that we're only talking about Fund 2. That this board really has discretion over, because Fund 3 is your debt, right? You have to pay your debts. Fund 6 is federal money, and the feds tell us how we can spend that. Fund 7 is our activity money, right? The money that our kids raise, the money that's generated through athletics, activities, and that only goes to funding athletics and activities. And Fund 8 is our food program, our food nutrition program, and that money can only be used to fund food nutrition, right? And so that's where I say everything except Fund 2 is really restricted. So I hope that helps a little bit, kind of explain what it is that we're looking, because we are actually, you guys are looking at this information every month, and I want to make sure that as we're looking at it, you feel like you have an adequate sense of really what it is you're looking, like how do we interpret the information, the numbers that we're looking at.
I think we're in awesome shape financially. Remember this year coming we're going to be making $760,000 more. Of course, we've got the issue with the federal money maybe not coming to us, so that's an issue.
Well, and here's the other thing. The thing we haven't talked about is they've been very clear that teacher equalization money is going away. So we have been receiving $185 per kid to ensure that our teacher salaries have been equalized across the state. So I'm going to take you back. Where that comes from is there was a time prior to the state saying the state minimum is $36,000, where the state minimum or what teachers were paid was less than $36,000. You probably remember that, Gary, right? Being on the board, and then the state came in and said you've got to have 25 mills, right? And do what now?
348 would be the number, 185 for the 1880 that we had.
Yeah.
1864, I guess was the number.
Well, so that number. So anyway, and the state said, okay, the state minimum is going to be 36,000. And Pocahontas, in learning my Pocahontas history, this district always set it at $1,000 more, so that's why they started at 37, right? To get the state from where it was to a minimum of 36,000, the state said we're going to give teacher equalization money to the districts who need it to get up to that level, and we're going to do that at $185 per kid. Okay, and so we've been receiving that since as long as that's been around, and that's been around for a while now. Okay, then the LEARNS Act comes in and says we're going to get everybody to $50,000. So not only have we been getting this $185 per ADM from the state, now we're getting this $980,000 from the state to get us up to $50,000. Okay?
Both of those are going away?
Huh?
No, both of those are going away?
No, that is not. But the $185 per ADM, starting next year, we'll get it for next year, right? But then that drops to $100 per ADM, and then the next year it's going to drop to $50 per ADM, and I would expect that in year 4 it's completely going to go away. Now, the message from the legislature is that money is being figured into the matrix. Okay? Just a reminder, the matrix is going down. Yes, we're removing the cost of the insurance. Okay? That will see I think that will see a net positive in, but I have not calculated, I have not added in what is the reduction of $85 per kid on top of that going to be. I calculated it this morning, and I'm roughly calculating that leaves us, instead of $267,000 to the good, that's going to leave us about $100,000 to the good. The next year, that's going to fall from $100 to $50, so that's going to cut in half. That'll leave us $50,000 to the good, and then after that, then it's just gone. Okay, so I think there are some things that we need to be cautious about when we're thinking about, are we, what does that look like when we're generating, we're looking at these numbers here. Okay, over the course of the next 3 to 4 years. And I think that's part of, I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
This is what we know at the state level. We still don't even have any idea what the federal level is going to do. That 2.9 doesn't sound very good now, does it?
Well, I think that's, again, if the goal of the district, if the goal of the board is to build a building, I think it sounds fine, right? And I'm wondering if we can, right now, I mean, we got to focus on the things that we can focus on, and right now we can focus on taking advantage of the $7.485 million the state's giving us to put up a new building.
I agree. Without that, we can't do anything. We've got to get in that window. And we've got a short time to get in there. All right, we got it.
Okay, so all that say, we just, we've got the monthly financials.
Make a motion to approve the monthly financials.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the monthly financials. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 4-0.
Okay, I gotta get this down. Gary, you made the motion, and Jennifer second. Okay. The second is the vehicle insurance renewal. This is something that we do every year, and so just put that in your packet. We are not changing anything regarding the vehicle insurance. We just asked, or we're seeking approval to go ahead and move forward with that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the vehicle insurance coverage. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 4-0.
We have a fuel bid this evening, so we put out bids earlier last week and asked for those bids to be returned this morning. We got one bid returned on time, so you have that bid for Scott Petroleum at the total cost of $26,222.70.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve this bid submitted by Scott Petroleum. Everybody in favor say yes. Yes, motion passes 4-0.
Okay. We've kind of really exhausted anything that I would have said this evening. And so we do have a personnel agenda if y'all would like to talk about that further. Otherwise, I mean, I'll be glad to kind of walk you through it if you want to do a executive session, and otherwise we'll just.
I'm good.
I'm good. I just would like to know what open positions we have left once we do this. Like what we're going into. Okay.
Got it right here.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any questions about who we're doing.
So this evening, you'll see we're filling the junior high custodian, the 5th grade, key coding, and study hall at the high school. We still have ALE para, if you approve the agenda, a kindergarten one-on-one, RTI, dyslexia, a Title I, and a SPED self-contained. Most of those are at the lower grades.
So just clarification, adding this fifth puts us back to 6 teachers in 5th grade? Or?
Yes, so that is a good question. We are, we had kind of talked about, we're right there on the cusp of 5th grade. We are gonna do a co-teaching classroom, and so we feel like to really take the best advantage of that experience, we are going to go ahead and add a 5th grade teacher. It also allows us to continue with our science and STEM plan in 6th grade and go ahead and take advantage of that science plan in 5th grade as well. If we did, if I added the 5th grade with the existing teachers, then we would have, I think, done our kiddos a disservice on that side of it, so.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a recommendation. So we're recommending the board approve the resignations of Brianna Tate as RTI dyslexia para, Steve Kozmarski from assistant transportation. We're also asking the board to approve a transfer of Donna Lemons from the elementary to MD Williams Kitchen. New hires this evening included would be Brennan Lambert at the PHS Study Hall, Joseph W. Thompson, junior high custodian, Zach Avery into the 5th grade spot, which would open up the ALE para there. Matthew Martin for the junior high key coding position, Lydia Ulmer as elementary RTI, and Allie Ward as the elementary Title I.
I'm assuming the first one is junior high. What?
Study hall?
Are we talking about study hall?
Yeah.
That's the high school.
Oh, that's where it was.
Yes.
Too much slum in.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve these transfers, new hires. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 4-0. I'd like to point out on your ELA scores, I'm glad you went with the extra teacher, because if you look from 5th grade to 6th grade, it's the biggest drop in number 1 and number 2 categories, you know, from 5th grade to 6th. So I don't know how we can get those 5th graders to move to 6th grade and still continue, because they dropped from 49 proficient to 29 proficient, you know what I mean? So it's just crazy. That's the biggest drop, that grade.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best decision, given the what we know about what we're trying to do with those kiddos now anyway. You also have the student transfers on the list that were approved as an informational item.
How many's going, how many's coming?
Total, this time, well, on here,
7 to 2, I think.
yeah,
But it's always that way. It's the
7 to
beginning of the
2.
year.
We got 7 leaving and 2 coming in.
Okay. That's fine.
And, you know, so I think that gives you a little bit of idea there. So if there's anything else, be glad to address that. Otherwise, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.